Yeah, make the radio calls for the final full stop here.
Let's not change anything.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think my brain is at 100% capacity. If I have to think about which finger to push a button on, that might
max it out.
Yeah, trying to use rudder in my hand is a big leap for me.
Yep.
Flying this thing without using my feet was one challenge, and this was another.
I don't get any feedback from your stick to my stick, so I can't feel what you're doing. So as I'm teaching you through these landings and takeoffs and stuff, it's all verbal coaching.
Yep.
And I won't be coming on top to add things. So on 6 Lima Fox today, the priority button's not active. Okay. So I can't turn your stick off.
Okay. So we'll make super clear, if I hear I have control, I'm going to say you have control, and I'm off the controls.
Yeah. It's 100% you on the controls until I say that I've got the airplane.
Yep.
Okay.
Having a little bit harder time that time.
Hey, you controlled it really nicely though. Yeah, I think we got a little gust there at the end.
And the fly-by-wire control system in this airplane is currently limited to direct as opposed to normal law, so we've got a lot to cover, so let's get into it.
This trip had a highlight for me, which was being on board this airplane over the Grand Canyon. It's so beautiful to look outside, and then it wasn't lost on me how significant a moment it was to be in an all-electric aircraft flying over the Grand Canyon.
Dude.
But then honestly, to be able to land it here, it's quite gusty still. Nate trusted me. Obviously, this is a situation where it's one pilot on the controls. There's no helping because of the way the fly-by-wire works.
This was the culmination of the road show where Beta Technologies flew their first production all-electric aircraft a huge distance. That's Nate and Noah, both of whom I got to train with.
Hey! What's up, man?
So it was an honor to be a part of the end of what was more than 7,000 miles?
Yeah, so I think it was the first electric coast-to-coast flight, so from Plattsburgh, New York, all the way to Santa Monica, California, Salt Lake City to East Coast, Daytona area, Florida, and then all the way back up the East Coast. So over 7,000 miles.
Wow.
This is the third of a multi-part series training in this all-electric aircraft. Normally, I'm making general aviation content burning 100 low lead. I will get back to that stuff. But first, I wanted to finish out this series because so many questions came up. This episode will focus on flying the airplane, slow flight, stalls, and landing, and we'll talk about the fly-by-wire system.
The airplane itself is so efficient, you do lose some trying to fight for a climb. You gain a lot of that back in the descent because you're not using anything in the descent. The airplane was designed for cruise efficiency, and so it's pretty energy efficient.
Last time we talked about electric engines, battery tech, and the charger infrastructure, and while I'm doing my best to make this series a thorough deep dive, I can't include everything, so there are more raw versions available to Patreon supporters of all this training.
But kind of the main goal for today is to get you in the left seat and kind of show you the normal handling characteristics and qualities of the aircraft.
Feet are going to stay, because of the touch and go, feet are on the floor the whole time.
Don't get your feet on the brakes at all.
The previous episode covered doing slips with no feet, but in this episode, I'm going to be landing without the pedals.
Yeah, so feet off
feet flat on the floor
until
you're on the ground.
God, that I can see being a mistake that intuitively you would make.
Yeah.
If you're in a crosswind scenario and it's no, I need more rudder. I could see doing that.
For sure.
It's going to be a hard instinct to fight.
And during the first significant crosswind landing in the sim, I made that exact mistake.
Hold that attitude. Looking great. 5 degrees nose up. Looks awesome. There you go. And just twist back towards center line.
That was a visceral experience that I was glad to have had before facing the real airplane, because hitting the brake pedal that hard thinking it was a rudder could have resulted in blowing a tire.
It's really easy to get into this oscillation too.
So I remember most of the sim training because we shot it. I reviewed it yesterday.
Perfect.
I think I know most of the gotchas. We're going to be in direct law.
Correct.
Not normal law.
Yeah.
Just remind me again, normal law versus...
Yes, we got
direct.
2 different modes. So right now we're flying this airplane in direct law, which is stick to surface. So when you do a stick input, you do full pitch up on the stick. It gives you full elevator up. It's just direct stick to surface. So we're flying that right now, and then we'll layer on top of that normal law, which just adds additional stability and makes it just more enjoyable and easier to fly. So we'll run through taxi, normal takeoff, climb cruise. So once we get up close to Rutland, we'll start doing some air work, and we'll do some bank-to-bank turns, 30 degrees to 30 degrees, just kind of get you a feel for what the aircraft does. We can play with some steep turns at 45 degrees, and then we'll do some power off, power on stalls, and just kind of show you how docile the stall is. Okay, so now we're ready for high voltage batteries to come on. So tap on the battery cluster there. So that's where you see all your details. So we're seeing how much energy and the temperature of each battery pack here, and the contactor status. So now go and take HVA, push in, and roll, turn right.
And just wait to make sure it's good.
Yep, so that all looks good. And then you can go through the rest of them just one at a time. Looking good. So you can see as you're doing that, the contactors are closing, energy is getting added to the bus that's available for use. So you got 5 packs on. That one went yellow. It's doing a self-test on the insulation. And that'll clear in about 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, so now we get the high voltage on. Now we'll go DC to DC, alpha, and bravo. You can turn those on.
Just make sure the connecting happens there.
Yep.
Good to go.
Okay.
And this powers up.
Exactly. So now the whole airplane is started except the engine. So we're able to do all of our flight planning and the call ATIS, all that stuff. The prop's not spinning yet. Flight controls, check. So if you tap on the flight controls section there, now we get our detailed flight controls. So going all the way aft, make sure the elevators go all the way up.
In the previous episode, we covered the redundancy and fault tolerance of the electric engine, not motor, and the control surfaces are equally backed up.
All of our flight control surfaces are split. So it's a fully fly-by-wire aircraft. From the stick, digital signals through the flight control computer out to electrical actuators at each flight control surface. So the control surfaces themselves are split so that if aerodynamically any one of them is stuck, you can aerodynamically compensate for it with the other 3 that are still functioning. Or if one goes unpowered, you can still easily control the airplane in all axes. So dual ailerons both sides, dual elevators both sides, and then a single rudder on each top of the tail. And so you're just gonna have less roll authority or less pitch authority, depending which surface it is. So you take the low voltage battery and go to the A side, and it turns on half of all your control surfaces. So now you can see the elevators here are centered, half of them, and the other ones are still drooping because they're still unpowered. And then if they go up on the rest of the high voltage, the rest of the plane will come on.
And to review, these pedals are brakes only. And then yaw.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna check yours.
Yep.
And what does the error she'll say? Dual controls or
Dual input.
Dual input, yeah, the voice.
So just some other briefing points. So transfer controls, we'll use 3-way transfer controls. Example is a bird's in front of us. You go left, I go right, the plane does nothing. So that's why it's a huge crew coordination. One of us is on the controls, one of us is not. Prop area we'll make sure is clear, and then we'll be ready for engine start. So we're at idle, so you'll be able to
Make sure it's the detent to know it's at idle.
Yep.
It's a little bit difficult to see the throttle control, but it's basically this little wheel that's part of this collective for future use in the VTOL version.
All right.
Yep, so we're clear. So we'll tap that so we can watch what's going on. So we got good indications from the engine.
Okay.
And
So
go for engine A on. Good start there, engine B on. Now we're ready to fly.
That's awesome.
Pretty complicated. So before taxi, motor temp, inverter temp, battery temps are all within limits. Okay, you're clear for taxi.
And check the brakes.
Yep, you just give them a little press.
Yep, and I think 20 was about right for taxi if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so not gonna ride the brakes, straighten out the wheel.
And this is that battery power anomaly that we've been seeing. That'll fix on the next Garmin.
Right.
Okay, eyes outside, going across the runway.
If you want to see this airplane in person and you're going to be at AirVenture, they'll have it on display there, and stay tuned for some details about a flight that I'll be giving away at the event as well.
Okay, so we'll get down here, we'll do our run up before takeoff.
Okay, so
So you
back
can
to
go idle?
detent. Yep.
Okay, so run up's pretty complicated. Hold the brakes, you're gonna slowly roll the throttle all the way up to 100%, you get that 108% emergency range. So
Yeah,
just roll it up until it drops into the detent.
Not past the detent.
Yeah, exactly. And if you see 108 here, that just means you went past the detent, just roll it back.
Okay, so we're good to do that.
Yep. And then we're gonna be looking for good torque here, good power here.
There it is.
There's 100%,
Okay.
good power, and then you can roll it all the way back beyond idle.
Right to the
And
back.
you get the drag region.
Yep.
Run up complete, we're ready to take off.
Awesome.
Don't have to wait for the motor to warm up, it's all ready to go. So before takeoff check, probe heat is off, trim is already set for takeoff, just make sure your door is closed. Cool, and then check, CAS, we got no new messages. So we are ready for takeoff.
The pre-takeoff checks and briefings were pretty standard, so I'm going to trim that to focus on what's specific to this aircraft.
If idle's clear.
Final's clear. I'll get our strobe lights on here.
The sim is really well calibrated. I remember feeling the weight of it, and this feels really the same.
Yeah, pretty similar.
This is runway 33.
3-3.
Heading is 33. Header on the center line. Add power with brakes on, or you continue on the roll?
You can leave brakes on, and then it'll just be brakes up to about 30 knots, and then rudder to maintain center line above 30.
Okay.
So go for it.
Here we go. Okay, power is set in the detent, but not past it.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I'm looking for 30, and then feet are coming off the pedals. That's it, eh? Feet are off the pedals.
Now you're on
No
the wrist.
takeoff.
Oh, so weird. Okay, no
Feet are off
takeoff.
the
We're
pedals.
continuing.
Yep, continuing. Power looks good. Power looks good. Temps look great. We're through 60 knots for 82.
Again, taking a little bit of weight off.
Yeah, it sounds good. Just nice gentle twists to keep the center line looking beautiful.
Rotate.
You can rotate. Just a
Let's
little back
go.
pressure.
I got a lot. I've got
Okay.
all the back pressure.
Yeah, just hold it in.
There it is.
There we
Okay.
go. Beautiful.
All right.
That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
And we're climbing out. Well, just aim for 100.
I didn't dare look down this speed. That's why I was asking you for rotate.
It's beautiful.
Keep my eyes outside like a tail wheel.
Yeah, this thing does take a long time on the takeoff roll, but it's really ultimately designed to be a VTOL airframe. And it glides like insanely well. So I imagine it'll be a little bit worse of a glide when you do put on the 4 vertical rotors, but I think they're going to be stowed in such a way that they're still quite aerodynamic. So this thing is like a 15 or 16 to 1 glide ratio clean. I bet it's still going to be like a 10 or 12 to 1 with those rotors out there.
Okay, I think I overthought how much the rudder was going to be hard. It wasn't that bad.
No, yeah.
I was just worried.
And it doesn't.
about...
It streamlines so well. It doesn't really need much rudder input, and even in flight, you rarely need rudder inputs.
Okay. So power is staying where it is.
Yep, we'll
until-
leave it here till we're safe altitude, so we'll go up 1,500 feet or so, then we'll roll it back to max continuous.
All right, I'm looking for 103.
And now you can start working in some trim to get it to trim out for 103, so you can do less work on the stick.
Yeah.
And we're cleared on course, so we can start at easy rate. Now you can just stretch out with your feet out.
Yeah, trying to remember to relax the feet.
So talking about stalls, the way we designed the airplane, it was designed to be a vertical takeoff and landing airplane first. So most of the design is centered around that. So every time you do a transition in, you want the pilots to be super comfortable getting really slow. So obviously we're not going to design a plane that departs easily, and so it's got super docile stall characteristics, and that's all part of the design. The way the wing washes out, the negative twist on the wing, keeps the stall all confined pretty much inboard of the booms. And so you still have really good roll aileron control, really good yaw control, even at the stall. It'd probably be some of the most boring stalls you ever do.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, the sim was, if it's like that, it's going to be pretty non-event.
That's one of the considerations. So when we do our low approach and go around, it's really easy just to roll the thumb wheel up really fast, but try to use those good airplane habits of just nice slow throttle inputs like you would in any plane.
Because it's going to be counterintuitive, the effect. It's going to push the nose down.
Yeah, so it does, the props above center line, or above CG of the aircraft, so it does have a slight nose pitch down effect.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably, the T6 trained me really well for that, because you cannot add power quickly with a giant radial. So you just gotta take what you get and just add it slow.
Yep. And the engine will give it to you all day. It'll give it to you as fast as you want it.
Yeah, but just not gonna
Just
be
don't
pleasant.
want to outrate your control and response to control.
Yeah, why make it harder when you're
exactly.
already looking at a risk of PIO?
Yep.
Regarding the T6, it's the airplane that I'm most proud to have been signed off to solo, and my first ride ever in one is thanks to longtime supporter Bose. They've been sponsoring flight shops for over 10 years. And this year at AirVenture, we're giving away a ride to one of you guys in one of those very same T6s.
Yeah, so that's going to be the threat here today, right, is PIO.
Kind of biggest thing is, unless we have significant crossings, you won't really need any yaw input. So that's what'll, to just kind of keep the yaw inputs to a minimum unless you need them.
Okay.
And then if you're at the right airspeeds, the aircraft's responsive enough that you shouldn't get into a PIO.
Yep, it'll be just nice and gentle.
Yep.
And are you putting your feet flat on the floor, or where are you putting them for approach?
So when we're on final approach, I usually put them flat on the floor so I can get onto the brakes.
Understood,
if I'm doing a full stop.
So that is what I'll do. I'll just... Yeah, because I'm going to be like this. I just don't want to have that. You saw me do it for the slip. I almost went for it.
Yeah.
It's like so intuitive.
And I'll be here to remind. I'll be watching you.
Yeah.
So if you want to set up for stall entry, we'll go for a power off stall straight ahead and level out until you're unable to arrest your descent, or we feel some buffet or nose brake. We won't see nose brake.
Yeah.
We might feel a little buffet, but you'll be unable to arrest your descent. Will be your primary indication. And we'll recover no lower than 1,500 feet AGL.
Okay, so power's going back, so now let myself screw it up and get too slow.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, so we'll pretend we lost focus, and recovery would be at the first indication, or?
Yeah, I'll call the recovery, and I'm just going to let you feel it out. Just call when you're on the back stop.
Of the stick?
Yep, when you kind of think you have no more elevator to give.
I still have more, but I feel like it's stalling.
Go ahead and keep giving some more.
There it is. And that's it. So
nose
recover.
starts to fall 800 feet a minute down, or you can recover.
Okay, so 75% power. Yeah, that's a non-event. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're already climbing.
Yep.
If you know, you can kind of turn down the valley here. We'll do a power on. So just go ahead and set 55%.
Okay.
I think we got enough altitude here. If you're just gonna hold like 10 to 12 degrees nose up and just let the speed bleed off. And so same thing here. So recovery will be just relax the back pressure.
I'm not at the stop yet. Would I be there? Yeah, there it is. Okay, and there's the stall. I think it's mushing.
Yep,
So just let it recover. A bit of wing drop. Pick it up. Yeah. Cool. Power's coming back. Yeah. So you couldn't get there by accident. Now I didn't get any was it normally going to have an audio thing telling you stall?
Yeah. So we have a stall warning
turned off.
That'll be implemented.
Yeah. So when it went yellow, that's when it would have started talking.
Yep. Yeah. It's through our angle of attack sensors, so should be pretty accurate.
All right. So we're coming back to 45%.
That's great.
Yeah. So you do kind of almost need to get to the stop in both situations to stall it.
Yeah. You can't really get there accidentally. It takes quite a bit of effort. And so the nose down pitching moment of the rolling the throttle in is helpful for your stall recovery too.
Right. Yeah, and I added power slowly enough I actually don't remember feeling it.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is as hard as this thing will ever be to fly, and it's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to have you back once we have normal law on
right.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so normal law adds in a yaw damper, turn coordination, and long-term pitch stability. And we're not trying to make it a flying robot. Like, that's definitely not the goal. We got a whole bunch of pilots working here, and we all want it to be seamless interaction between the pilot and the plane.
Before getting into the airwork, this little bit about the culture here really exemplifies everything that I'm trying to do with flight shops and how much I can relate to this place.
The aircraft they have here is like a dream fleet of tailwheel aircraft, an XO300, and then this is what they're building. And everybody here gets to fly every aircraft in the fleet if they want. They get the training. Cool, so anybody that works at Beta is invited to train on anything.
Yeah, not just invited to, highly encouraged to. The whole purpose is, like, we all love aviation. We want people to work here that love aviation.
So there's this like insatiable interest and passion to just learn about all the airplanes because your job is to design and build airplanes. That's why the diversity really, really helps. The Russian Antonov, what's magical about that? You can like repair the whole thing with a flathead screwdriver. There's engineering elegance in that, right? I was just flying a Phenom twin engine jet. We'll go out and fly the 185, right? Totally different domains of flight. But if you feel the plane on your back and in your shoulders and in your neck, and you feel how it's reacting to the air, it doesn't matter if it's a fast jet or a helicopter or a plane, if you sense it and feel it, it's developed over flying hundreds of different types of aircraft. Then when you go and fly a brand new type design for the very first time, you're going to be a safer pilot.
We got plenty of room all the way around if you want to try some bank-to-bank turns and some steep turns.
I'll go left first.
Sounds great.
Left, so power's going to stay where it is, maybe bumping a little bit.
Yeah, 1 to 2% is really all you need, even at a 45-degree bank.
Wow, I rolled it so little, and that was more than 1%. Wow, it doesn't need much rudder. That's cool.
Yeah, you can see the nose just tracks really well.
That was about 30 degrees. I'll just come back around this way.
They're right.
Right. Yeah, it's a little tricky with the bumps today to tell what's me or what's the bumps, but yeah. I think I'm not over controlling, so that's just over 30.
Yeah, it's just nice and smooth and responsive.
I'm going to bring it around the other way and go to 45.
Sounds great.
I'm using rudder.
Yeah, you really don't need much rudder.
Yeah, I use too much.
Self-coordinates.
So there's 45.
Yep, beautiful. Just get those references outside.
Climbing a little bit, fixing it. I'll bring it right around 180 and then bring it back.
Sounds great.
I'm a little bit underbanked. Alright, reversing. Clear right.
Clear right.
Yeah, that is great. I almost went to 60. It really has good roll authority. That is cool. Yeah, for something that looks like it doesn't expect to be that snappy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty responsive.
Like, she looks really sleek, but she also doesn't look skinny. You know what I mean? Like, she's a cargo airplane.
Yeah, exactly.
And straightening it. Pretty cool, man. That was way more authority than I expected.
Yep.
All right, I think we are where we were. I don't know. I didn't look plus or minus how high or down.
Yep, we stayed right about. We were plus minus 100. No, would be impressed.
Well,
ACS standards.
In terms of range and endurance for this aircraft,
And I think it's like 87 miles or something, so we'll have energy to do more than one pattern.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a pretty good headwind going up there, but we should have energy to do 2 or 3 patterns pretty easily. Weather at Rutland 350 16 to 24, and it's a runway 01 is the main runway there.
so powers come back to 20 or?
Perfect. And so kind of on final, usually 5 to 10% will hold a 3-degree glide slope. With the headwinds, it might even be a little, maybe closer to the 10%. So even from here, just visually, you may need some drag to get down. Probably.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
I do not feel like I'm low. Like I don't feel high.
Oh,
Let's
we
put it
could
that
easily
way.
make the airport from here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so go ahead and pull it into that drag region so we get down closer to that 3-degree.
Okay, and then drag. Yeah, so now if I watch the trend, I do feel high. But visually, like a snapshot, it doesn't feel high.
Yeah.
Okay, back to 95. We're right back in drag.
Beautiful.
Yes, that's stabilizing. I'm a little bit still high, eh? Could probably touch a slip, or what do you think? Just let her be later.
Yeah, you can go for some slip.
No pedal.
No pedals. No need.
Still fighting with the urge to put feet on the pedals, but at least for landing I didn't do it.
Yep.
When we talk about slips and everything else, I almost went for it. Like, it's so hard to not do that.
Yeah.
So we'll plan this one, we'll just plan for a low approach down to like 10 to 15 feet above the runway, just to kind of feel out that pitch attitude that we're looking for on landing
Okay.
in the go-around. And again, all your controls, no need for brakes. Before landing check is already complete, brakes, seatbelts, and lights are all set. Yeah, you might need to go for some slip.
Yeah, that's awesome. Getting back to center line. I'm in full drag, full rudder slip right now. And we're going 800 feet per minute down. Speed is a little high, fixing that. But I want to let it overread a little bit because we're slipping, right?
Yep. So aim point you want kind of just before the threshold to touch down near the 1,000 footers if we're on our VREF at 95.
Okay. Still slipping. That's awesome. Alright, should I snap it out of the slip now, you think?
Yeah, you can start to bring it out. Nice. And now try to trend towards 95. You can see we're still going to be pretty high.
Yeah, man, that's nuts. Totally. Yeah, we're way high.
So that's why we wanted to do this low approach, just give you the glide angle. This will work out pretty good. Your aim point's probably about the number 1, so we'd be touching down, maybe halfway down the runway.
Okay, so I'll bring it down to 15 feet and then add some power.
Yeah,
and then
and if you add like 30 to 40% as we're cruising down the runway, and that'll just give you a good attitude, and then you can do the climb out. So this is your approach angle you're looking for.
yeah, and I'm a little fast.
Touch fast.
Okay, power's coming up a little bit. 20.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna just hold it here for a second, 20%.
Beautiful.
Let's track straight. Alright, and we're gonna go.
Perfect.
Okay, there's 100%.
Beautiful.
105.
Cool. Before landing check's complete, we're inbound for a touch and go runway 1.
Yep,
Cool. So you kind of see that aim point you want to go for now.
yep. Alright, feet are going to stay, because the touch and go, feet
Yep.
are on the floor the whole
Don't get your
time.
feet on the brakes at all. Great. Cool. Get the aim point just before the pavement starts, probably. These bumps last time smoothed out as soon as we get over the pavement. Yeah, your feet are off the brakes. Looking awesome. Pavement's made, you can go idle. And we're just holding.
Yeah, I'm in idle.
Beautiful.
No drag. So, think about drag or what?
No, we're good. Just hold this. Now, just like any airplane, we're looking long down the runway. I'll let those bumps smooth out.
Feel fast.
That's good.
That's how she is,
That's
though, eh?
great.
And a drag?
Yep. And looking down, looking long. And just hold that. Beautiful.
Okay, power's coming back.
Great.
Nose land, power's coming back. About 100%?
100%.
Power set.
Hey, there's a rotate. That's gorgeous.
Awesome, man.
Heck yeah.
Good coaching.
Right on center line. Nice flare.
Wind was right down the pipe, so that helped. Sweet. Okay. 100%. Climbing for 105.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it definitely felt fast going over the numbers, but that's what it is.
Yep.
Because that's not how this thing ultimately is going to be, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's almost like an emergency scenario if you really need to land like that.
Yeah, I mean, this plane will land like that all day long.
That said, I'm excited about the evolution of this airframe.
And now I'm helping build our Alia training programs. How we're going to teach pilots to fly CX300, and then ultimately how we're going to give type ratings in A250, which is our vertical takeoff and landing. That'll be a powered lift category airplane.
Okay, so touch high. I'll wait until our final before I start doing anything about it. We're in idle right now.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I'm going to drag for high.
Beautiful, right on ref.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better
Correcting
with...
down the glide slope. Looks great. This looks perfect. Yeah, just hold that drag till we're on glide slope, and then you can add in a touch of power. Aim point, like we said. Looking awesome.
Okay, so I'm getting a little bit low, so I'm coming off drag a little bit.
Perfect.
A little bit fast.
Yeah, we're right where we want to be.
You'll notice that this looks like a long final, but because this airplane glides so well and flies such a shallow approach naturally, this is the way they suggested doing it. But I'm going to cut about 30 seconds out of here because it was stabilized and nothing really happened until we got closer.
Okay, going to drag.
Beautiful.
And drag.
Touch your right rudder. There you go.
Having a little bit harder time that time.
Hey,
And we
controlled
got
it really nicely though. Yeah, I think we got a little gust there at the end.
On the
That was
brakes
great.
gently.
Because this isn't a case where you're not sure what the instructor's doing, because if you touched it, it would have been clearly arguing about it. Right?
Yeah, it would have told you. It would have told you if I came on the controls. It would have given you the dual input. Yeah, and you would have known immediately. So yeah, I didn't help you at all. It was 100% you.
The last one was a little squirrely, but
That nice gust, but you handled it really well.
I just stayed with it. Don't overdo it. Because I saw the moment where it's like, this is where I can over control, and now it's going to be PIO, and I'm not going to know what's me anymore, what's the wind.
That was awesome.
All right, thanks, man. Yeah,
Yeah, we got a nice gust right at the
I
end
was
there,
like,
but
I'm
you,
not gonna-
you didn't over control. Thanks, yeah, we got, I don't know,
Yeah,
probably
that-
5 knots crosswind on that. It's pretty variable too.
Look at that. That's so different than it was on the last one.
But really nice control.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Cool, we can clear here at Juliet.
Next up, we'll be burning avgas, and until then, keep your flight chops sharp.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Beautifully done.
I'm kind of glad the second one was harder, because the first one was like, wow, that was almost too easy. But it was because the wind just didn't do anything on that
Yeah.
first one. So I got to really get confident getting close to the ground.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
can see the yaw in the hand isn't, it's
Yeah.
not too crazy. Once
No.
you, just a couple,
Yeah, I briefed myself to like, I could tell I was like, okay, I'm needing to do stuff here, but let's not be me. Like, I don't want to PIO this situation. I was
Yeah.
just kind of trying to figure out what it needs, don't overdo it, hold it.
yeah, it's gorgeous.